much Africa, and it is freezing in Johannesburg. Now, the Sovereign Wealth Fund is a new concept to many African countries with over $1 billion in investments. Now, CNBC Africa's Wole Famurewa spoke to Serge Mikoto, CEO of the National Fund for Investment, about how Gabon's Sovereign Wealth Fund has been managed and how it plans to invest in other African countries.
We are an asset manager for the government, and this asset manager finally decide how to invest through an investment policy. And this investment policy is a new concept in Gabon also. And for example, in this investment policy, we have 20% of investment in Gabon and 80% outside of Gabon in different sectors. So that's the way that we try to invest, and our goal is the return. We don't want to invest in road, for example, but we really need the return. The final point is to create and to diversify the income of the revenue of Gabon, and at the end of maybe 10 or 15 years, all the revenue generated by our investment can replace all revenue in our budget of Gabon. That's the main point, and this is my job.
All right, so interesting job you're doing right now, especially in a continent that needs what many people will call altruistic investment that is not necessarily for return because of the needs that in areas like infrastructure. So how do you balance the need for building infrastructure, for instance, that may not necessarily give you a return with your targets and your objectives to generate a return for future generations?
Because we manage this specific fund for the government, fund for future generation, so we need to create value for the future generation. And this show the way to where we need to be to invest and which kind of investment that we can do in the countries, okay? So for infrastructure, for example, we always invest in infrastructure with return. And in Gabon, specifically, we need to increase our power, electricity, energy. You cannot transform things in Gabon, you cannot add value, okay, without energy. So to invest in infrastructure, in energy, electricity, is one of the bigger investment that we can do in Gabon specifically.
Okay, and I understand you're not just investing in Gabon and outside Africa, but you're actually investing in other African countries. Can you tell us about your experience investing in other African countries or your plans to invest in other African countries?
We have two ways to invest in different to invest in different countries in Africa. The first way is to direct investment, okay? In this case, we identify some opportunities directly or through some financial institution, and we can go directly in this investment. The second way is to go through an SPV that we can create with investors in these specific countries. But we also invest in one fund, named African Fund. And in this African Fund, with two parts, infrastructure fund and agricultural fund, we go in different countries. For example, we have some interest in Ivory Coast, we have some interest in Senegal, we have some interest in Ghana, and in maybe a few days we can have some interest in Angola. So different parts of Africa, not specifically in French colonized countries, okay, like Ivory Coast and Senegal, but also in Ghana and also in Angola.
All right, so interesting that you're going across the African continent.
I forget one country, Tanzania.
Tanzania.
So we have some interest.
Okay, interesting.
We look for some different...
well, it's great to see that the money is staying within Africa. I think that's wonderful to hear. So
because the growth is also in Africa.
I just wanted to get to that. Is that because you're seeing more opportunities in Africa as opposed to other continents? Is that reflective
African.
of the opportunity?
I am African, and I know Africa better than other continents. Okay, and we know different. We have some different friends in Africa, and we know the market. We know the way to think. We know the way to make money. We know the way to talk to people. Okay, and it's easy for a Gabonese government to do business in other countries in Africa, but we also invest in other continents, not only in Africa, okay? Because the world is open. But where we can invest. Why countries? Because of the peace, because of the growth, because we know peoples. That's easy. And we believe on Africa. Right. And we hope that one day all those African countries, as the President Ali Bongo says during the 1440th anniversary of the BEAC, maybe one of the idea is to create one sovereign wealth fund for CEMAC zone, only one, for all those countries, only one, not the Gabonese sovereign wealth fund, the Congolese sovereign fund, but one sovereign wealth fund for all those countries. It's maybe one of the solutions to integrate our zone.